Okay, welcome to the stream, guys. So today we're going to be looking at, we're going to be following week 3 on the Diddy trial. Today is going to continue with testimony from Don Richard. So I kind of just wanted to go through some things when it comes to like the stuff that from last week from
supported Inner City Press.
Some of the things that didn't happen, false reports. There was a lot of misinformation and stuff going on. I'm just trying to get everything together here. This is like my first real stream. So to make sure everything's going okay. Okay. So let's just see what this guy, I forget his name, Matthew Russell Lee, has to say in regards to last week, or actually the stuff that just happened over the weekend, because it was just craziness, right? Like there was so much misinformation, false reports, and false stories, and let's see what's going on.
Okay, here we are, Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here at the Southern District of New York Courthouse. Today, Monday, May 19th, 2025. Now we're heading in for the second week of U.S. versus Sean Combs, the Diddy trial. We covered the first week in great detail. In fact, for reasons that I'll explain in a moment, we put out everything that we could about it in an ebook that you can find on Google Play. I'm also tweeting links to it, also in audiobook format. But it's turned out to be, I'll get into why. We did the first book in the series on Amazon, and then there were some, I guess they think the case is too controversial, but it seems strange because it's all over the world. But we switched platforms for at least this case, and you can find what we said. And the reason, upcoming, let's stick to the facts. Upcoming this week, goes Don Richard, but there's also going to be, after that, Cassie Ventura's friend, Kerry Morgan will testify, then David Jones, then Sheree Hayes, Regina Ventura, Jordan Atkinson, and Gerard Ganon. And you can, of course, Google all of those people, but they'll be over the next 2 days, maybe even into Wednesday, according to the prosecutors. Now, one of the reasons that we put out the thing on Google Play is that as social media, I guess, works these days, people just did a pure fake. Initially, it was saying that Inner City Press had reported somehow that Nicki Minaj had told Cassie to stay with Sean Combs. It's totally false. Her name, it only came, that was false. So some people have said I should do more. All I can say is that we tweeted a notice that it was false. I became aware this morning that someone had reported that what they called UN-supported Inner City Press and claimed that there was a Prince audio. No, there was not audio by somebody called Sujit, who's not Prince, and who Cassie Ventura was saying, "I'll kill you if you don't give me the video of the freak-off back." So that was false. So for that reason, we've decided to put it all in one place. If it's not in the ebook on Google Play, we're not reporting that it happened. Let's put it that way. So we're heading in. It should be. I'm about to get to the courthouse. I see already the media throngs, but there are, of course, other cases, believe it or not. For example, Nadine Menendez, the wife of Senator Robert Menendez. Sorry for all the wind. It's pretty windy here in New York. It actually blew a Mexican Navy training ship into the Brooklyn Bridge, but you've heard that. Yep. Nadine Menendez has gotten a final delay of her sentencing to September 11th. Another criminal. This is maybe relevant. I mean, it's incredible. A guy called Mark Scott, convicted of money laundering for the crypto fraud OneCoin, was convicted at trial in 2019 and is still not gone to jail. He got bail pending appeal. He's now lost all of his appeals, and he still wants to stay out. So we're covering this one because while we're compassionate for any kind of health issues, this man was convicted of a massive fraud in 2019. Not a day in jail. And I'm telling you, poorer people are in jail pending trial. So is Sean Combs, who's not poor, but I guess it's the violence angle. But in any event, what else do we got? Charlie Javis. Now there's someone with money. She sold her fintech called Frank, who's to help people fill out their FAFSA. sold it for massive dollars to JP Morgan Chase, who didn't kick the tires. And it turns out that she didn't have the subscribers that she claimed to have. And she was convicted, but she wanted a new trial. Well, the government over the weekend turned in a 120-page brief opposing the new trial. So on that, we also cover the United Nations. They don't answer our questions. We were actually ousted. That was the irony of being the UN-supported UN. We're not UN-supported. In fact, our aggressive reporting on the UN led them, because they're not covered by the First Amendment, to ousting us from there. But we continue to send them questions, and they don't answer them, including about a case here in the Southern District in which the UN is being sued for its role on October 7th. They claim immunity. In any event, we're going in. Inner City Press. Soon to start the live tweet of the day.
Okay, and kisses, okay? I can't give you any more kisses. I'm busy. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so let's just... Okay. Let's just start with what he has. Let's see. Okay, so we have U.S. versus Sean Combs. Week 2 begins with judge ruling on scope of Don Richard's testimony, and then Kerry Morgan. Inner City Press is covering. Sorry, my bird's bug really bad. Okay, so all rise. A judge on the defense's application with regard to Don Richard. Ms. Garagos' opening statement opened the door to this testimony. As to Mr. James, the testimony would be inadmissible absent more. Attorney for the U.S. As I argued in my letter, so this is a note. The judge ruled orally on letters that are not in the docket, although they are clearly judicial documents. Inner City Press challenge to this is in the document unsealing docket bit. So they're over here filing motions that's not that. And they're being ruled on these motions, but they're not on the docket for the day. So we have this guy over here doing the work for the people. So the judge, the same brand of testimony that was objected to on Friday. Does the government expect Ms. Richard to say what she heard and saw? Attorney for U.S.? Yes. I'll just say U.S. for attorney. Judge, that would be permissible, just like the testimony in the recording studio. U.S.? Personal assistants were with Mr. Combs 20 hours a day. Their testimony is admissible. The judge, my concern is that there are other ways to get this evidence in. What Mr. James would add is just the postscript. Combs' lawyer, on the David James issue, this defeats the whole purpose of this hearsay objection. The government is arguing that it's all admissible because the job descriptions are so vague. We contend these are personal matters. Let me see, is there more? Okay, see, there's so much more. Okay, I'm just like, all right, okay, I'm missing a lot. Let's try this again. The same brand of testimony that was objected to on Friday. Does the government expect Mr. Richard to say what? Yes, that would be. Okay, no, I guess I'm not. Wait. So that's not supposed to. In the recording studio. No, it's the same. Okay. So personal assistants were with Mr. Combs 20 hours a day. Their testimony is admissible. The judge. My concern is that there are other ways to get this evidence in. What Mr. James would add is just the postscript. On the David, so Agnifilo, Combs' attorney. On the David James issue, this defeats the whole purpose of this hearsay objection. The government is arguing that it's all admissible because the job descriptions are so vague. We contend these are personal matters. Judge. Let me focus you on the assault on the chef, Mr. James. Learns from a member of the security detail that Mr. Combs assaulted the chef. Okay, so let me focus on the assault on the chef. Mr. James learns from a member of the security detail that Mr. Combs assaulted the chef. Would that be in the scope of their employment? Agnifilo. I don't know what relevance this has to racketeering. Combs' lawyer. This is becoming a sort of bad act free-for-all. Assault is just not one of the racketeering acts. Get these so I know which ones I've read, which ones I haven't. It's trying to stay in order. Okay, so Combs' lawyer and Agnifilo says, this is becoming a sort of bad act free-for-all. Assault is just not one of the racketeering acts. U.S. attorney, this is relevant to the means and methods of the enterprise. The chef is identified as a victim of forced labor. Damn, what? Forced labor? That's crazy. I'm not gonna lie. That's crazy. Combs' lawyer Agnifilo. I'm going to defer to Miss Westmoreland on the other witness. Combs is Westmoreland. This is the other lawyer. Mr. Richard claims that Mr. Combs, I think it's Miss Richard, claims that Mr. Combs assaulted Miss Ventura right in front of her. These other alleged threats are nowhere near in close proximity to an alleged assault. Combs' lawyer, we have to distinguish between the Danity Kane and the Diddy Dirty Money eras. The Danity Kane and the Diddy Dirty Money eras. And Mr. Pierre telling her, where are you going to go? I don't see how that can be construed as a threat. Judge, let me think about it. So, the judge, we have an application from the press that emails be put in the record. I am directing you to put them together and put them in the docket by next Tuesday, and after that on a weekly basis. So, no, it was Inner City Press's request. Okay, so this is a week late, but it's okay. It's okay. Okay, so this is the filings again. Okay, so just entering. Oh, the jury's entering. Okay, here we go. Here's the good stuff. The jury's entering. Okay. Okay. The U.S. attorney. When Mr. Combs told you people could go missing, so we're continuing with Don Richard's testimony right now. U.S. says, when Mr. Combs told you people could go missing, how did you interpret it? Don Richard. That people could die. I couldn't believe that this could be the beginning of a journey for us. U.S. attorney. As Diddy Dirty Money? Richard, yes. U.S. attorney, what did you observe? Richard, he would drag her and kick her and punch her in the mouth. U.S. attorney, what would prompt these acts of violence? Combs attorney, objection. Judge overruled. Don Richard answers, when she would speak up for herself. So what would prompt these acts of violence is when she would speak up for herself. Of course, got to keep that control in check, right? So the U.S. attorney says, who in security witnessed these things? Don Richard. D-Rock and bonds. U.S. Attorney, where did Miss Ventura get hit? Hey, can you guys beat it? Go in your room. You guys have your own room. Go. Go. You have your own room. Okay. I think I'm going to lock the birds out. I might lock the birds out. They're getting a little ruckusy. Oh, hey. Okay, so who in security witnessed these things? Richard says, D-Rock and Bonds, USA Attorney. Where did Miss Ventura get hit? Richard, her knees, her face, all over. U.S. Attorney. Did there come a time when you were in New York for a festival? Richard, yes, in Central Park. U.S. Attorney, in the residence, what happened? Richard, he punched Cassie. She came into the bathroom crying. You could see her upset, like she was hurt. Combs' lawyer, objection. Judge sustained. So the U.S. Attorney, what injuries did you observe? A swollen eye. Why did you remain with Miss Ventura after this incident? Richard says. I wanted her to feel supported. Attorney asks her, what's this? Don Richard answers, the Central Park event. And it's a photo of Cassie in sunglasses and Don Richard too. And attorney asks her, why did you wear them, referring to the sunglasses? And she answers, in solidarity. So pretty much like they wanted her to feel like she was the only one having to wear sunglasses at night, most likely. Okay. The attorney then asks the next assault, who was there? Don Richard answers, D-Rock, Capricorn Clark, Harve Pierre. Attorney asks, who was Mr. Pierre? Richard says, at Bad Boy, answering to Sean Combs. Attorney asks, did they do anything? Richard said, none of us did anything. Eek. That's rough. Okay, so Richard, we said when we drove back to LA, he slapped Cassie in the mouth and told her to shut the fuck up. The U.S. Attorney asked, how did the passengers respond? Richard said, we stayed silent for the rest of the ride. Okay, so Richard said, I asked myself, if he did that to someone he supposedly loved, what would he do to an employee? So I approached Mr. Combs with softness. Did you try to intervene in the relationship? Richard says, no, for my own safety. Okay. Did you see Mr. Combs using drugs? Richard says, yes, weed, ketamine, Molly, cocaine, U.S. opiates. Don Richard said, that I never saw. The U.S. Attorney says, who brought him the drugs? Richard says, one stop. He had it all, including Plan B birth control. Wow. That's nutty. Okay. Jeez, okay. So, the U.S. Attorney asks, so did you see Mr. Combs with guns? Richard says, yes, handguns on his lower back. The U.S. Attorney asks, who asked had guns? Probably who else had guns, I would assume. Richard said security, D-Rock, and bonds. The U.S. attorney says, what did you do after Bad Boy? Richard says, sing. Whenever I got momentum, I'd get a FaceTime from him. So, okay, so like, even when she left Bad Boy and she was singing, anytime that she would get momentum in her career, he'd come knocking on the door, FaceTiming, trying to FaceTime and stuff, like a controlling freak he is. Ugh, I got a new baby. Ugh. Right? Okay, so how would you speak to him? Richard answers, very soft. I'd always call him bro. The U.S. attorney, why did you not disclose the abuse you'd seen? Richard said, I was told not to by Mr. Combs and Harvey Pierre. The attorney asks, when did you speak out? Don Richard says 2024. So okay. Richard says, I saw Miss Ventura take the stand and tell the truth. Combs attorney, objection. Judge says, sustained. U.S. attorney, did you see Miss Ventura file a civil lawsuit and then file your own? Richard said, yes. Okay, Richard said yes. So the judge says cross. So now we're going into cross-examination of Dawn. So Combs' lawyer says, you are aware there's a motion to dismiss your lawsuit. Richard says, I have civil lawyers. Diddy's lawyer says, you sat with the prosecutors and your allegations have changed. What, you sat with the prosecutors and your allegations have changed? Richard says, I've been consistent. Combs' lawyer says, you testified he attempted to hit her about the eggs. You testified he attempted to hit her about the eggs, and Ms. Ventura dropped down in fetal position, right? Richard said yes. Diddy's lawyer says, did you ever say you heard a pan hit the wall? You didn't see it? Richard said, I don't recall. Combs' lawyer says, would you agree with me it has been hard for you to keep your story straight with respect to this egg incident? Richard said, I told it as close as I could. Diddy's lawyer says, the day after, you say Mr. Combs says, people go missing. She says, yes. Combs' lawyer says, let's do to your interview on March 18, 2025. I don't understand what that's. Let's do your interview on March 18, 2025. You did not say anything about Mr. Combs told you people go missing. Richard says, I don't recall that. Diddy's lawyer says, no worries, I'm going to show you a document for parties only. Page 5. So Combs' lawyer says, isn't it true the first time you said this was a week ago? Isn't it true the first time you said this was a week ago? Would you like me to show you your previous interviews? Richard says, I know what I said. Diddy's lawyer said, you said Mr. Combs made a death threat, one that you didn't recall 7 times. Combs' lawyer says, let's move to alleged incident before the Central Park concert. You are aware there was a camera crew. Richard says, not in the bathroom. Diddy's lawyer says, you were filmed in the park. Are you aware if the video has been turned over? And Richard answers no. So, I'm just checking on my status of everything, making sure everything's okay. I'm the only one here anyway, so no one's watching. Okay, anyway, back to the stuff. Okay, so Combs' attorney says, about the guns, you didn't tell the prosecutors about I saw guns at Diddy's house. Richard says, they didn't ask. Diddy's lawyer says, you never saw Mr. Combs pull a gun out and wave it around, load bullets, or cock it? Richard says, he just had it. Okay. So Combs' lawyer then says, did you tell the government you never saw Mr. Combs do cocaine? Richard says, I don't recall. Diddy's attorney asks, your testimony has changed on quite a few things. Don Richard answers, as time progresses, I remember more. So, Combs' attorney says, you saw One Stop sell drugs. You saw him take money. So you saw One Stop sell drugs. You saw him take money. Don Richard says, yes. Diddy's lawyer says, all right, 1 second. Didn't you tell the government you never saw anyone pay him? So you lied, right? Richard says, no. So then there's a sidebar. So they went on the sidebar and, doing what they do on sidebars. Birds messed up my hair. Okay. So, let's go on. So they come back from the sidebar. So Combs' lawyer, it was you who reached out to Mr. Combs to work with him again? And Richard said yes. Diddy's lawyers then asked, but he had threatened you, right? You asked him to work with you again? She answers, yes. And his lawyer says, okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so Diddy's lawyer then says, the songs you've released on your own have not reached the level of what you've released with Danity Kane and Diddy Dirty Money, right? Okay, so I'm assuming now that Diddy Dirty Money is the group what she had with Diddy. Okay, I was like, what? Diddy Dirty Money? I didn't even know what that was. Okay, I'm catching up. It's okay. The songs you've released on your own have not reached the level that you released with Danity Kane and Diddy Dirty Money, right? She says, true. Diddy's lawyers say, and you reach out to Mr. Combs to try to make more money, right? And she says, yes. The U.S. attorney calls for a short sidebar, and it is not short. Still wondering why the side's legal arguments to the judge judicial documents will only go on into the docket on a week's delay. We'll only be doing weekly ebooks. Okay, that's great. Okay, so they're back from the long sidebar, and there's a redirect. Okay. So the U.S. attorney. Okay, so now we're done. We're done with the cross-examination. Now we're going in with the redirect examination. The U.S. Attorney says, why did you file your civil lawsuit? Richard says, when I worked for Sean Combs, I had no sleep. The conditions. U.S. Attorney says, in every meeting with the government, did you say that Mr. Combs beat Miss Ventura? She said, yes. And right now, it looks like, is that all? 16 minutes ago? Okay. Okay, so the nickname, the person who sold drugs to was One Stop. Okay. So then we have a Combs attorney. Wait, hold on. Okay. Okay. Here you go. So the U.S. Attorney says, why'd you reach out to Mr. Combs? Richard says, one of the judges on making the band, Lorianne Gibson, I wanted to reach out. Combs' lawyer, objection. Judge sustained. Okay, so the attorney asks, how often would you hear Mr. Combs after you left Diddy Dirty Money? Richard answers, sporadic. The U.S. attorney asks, why did you reach out? Richard answers, to help Kalina Harper. The U.S. attorney then says no further questions. So then they have a sidebar because Combs' attorney requests a sidebar and a brief conference at the bench. So now we go to the recross. Combs' lawyer. You admit you reached out to Mr. Combs to re-engage, you claim, only to have a relationship with Lorianne Gibson? But if it got back together, you'd have to see Mr. Combs more, right? Richard said yes. Combs' lawyer said, you sued for money, right? Richard said, for justice. Combs' lawyer said, but the suit asked for money, right? Don Richard says, yes. Combs' lawyer says no further questions. The judge says, ask the U.S. attorney for a redirect, and they say no. And then we go to a break. Okay, a break. So it looks like we're on a break right now. Okay, so let's go look and let's see what happened. Like, I've been really sick, sorry. So this is where the trial left off. So Dawn Richard laid out for the jury all the violent acts she saw Sean Diddy Combs carry out on his then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura. He would punch her, choke her, drag her, slap her in the mouth. Richard said, I saw him kick her, punch her in the stomach. Richard said she frequently witnessed these alleged beatings that took place from 2009 through 2011 when she was in the group Diddy Dirty Money, a trio including Richard and Diddy. When she took first, former Diddy King member arrived at a courthouse in Lower Manhattan on Monday morning to resume her testimony. When she first took the stand Friday, Richard, 41, told jurors she witnessed a belligerent Sean Diddy Combs violently attack his then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura often, once hitting her over the head with a frying pan. Diddy popped Cassie in the mouth and told her to shut the F up for confronting him about public restaurant assault. Testimony. Sean Diddy Combs once punched then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura and told her to shut the F up after she confronted him for public restaurant assault, according to testimony. Dawn Richard testified that she once witnessed Combs punch Ventura in public at a West Hollywood restaurant in 2010, and then when they were in the car heading to his Los Angeles home after Ventura confronted him and was beaten again. Cass was embarrassed and was telling Combs he shouldn't have done it in public. Richard called she felt embarrassed by him. Combs grabbed Ventura bite in the neck, popped her in the mouth, and told her to shut the F up, Richard told the jury. Diddy had birth control delivered by his drug dealers along with street drugs. Sean Diddy Combs had his drug dealer bring him birth control along with other street drugs, Dawn Richard testified. Richard said she saw Combs buy and take a slew of party drugs, including Molly, ecstasy, cocaine, ketamine, and pot. Dawn Richard has been cross-examined by Diddy's lawyers. Celebs, including Usher, Neo, and music exec Jimmy Iovine were at restaurant where Diddy punched Cassie in the stomach. Testimony. Celebrities, including singers Usher and Neo and music execs Jimmy Iovine, were at a restaurant when Sean Diddy Combs punched Cassie Ventura in the stomach, according to testimony. Where did they see it? Dawn Richard was grilled by Combs' lawyers, Nicole Westmoreland, about why, on direct examination, she didn't divulge that the A-listers were at the West Hollywood restaurant where Combs allegedly gut-punched Ventura. I've heard about this before, and I can't remember where, but it was on one of those, like, interviewing the bodyguards or, like, something like that. Any reason you left those individuals out when the government asked you the question? She just asked me who was there, Richard said. Why didn't you say their names? The defense attorney continued to press. I'm not sure, Richard answered. It wasn't clear from the testimony whether the trio of notables had witnessed the alleged assault. See, yeah. Maybe she just didn't say anything because they weren't there and they didn't witness. They were there at the restaurant, but they weren't there to witness the assault. Let's see. I don't know. Okay, so let's see. So now we're saying, who is Dawn Richard? I think we all know, but let's see. Singer Dawn Richard took the stand again on Monday as music mogul Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial in Manhattan federal court. Richard, 41, is a former member in the Combs-created girl group Dandy King, which formed in 2004 and was signed to Combs' Bad Boy Records. She testified that Combs would frequently be violent with his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura between 2009 and 2011 when she was part of trio Diddy Dirty Money with Combs and fellow singer Kalena Harper. Richard, who participated in Combs' 2004 MTV show Making the Band, filed a sexual assault suit against the rapper in September, alleging he once broke into her dressing room and groped her breasts and butt. What a turd. Another time he invited her to his Miami home and welcomed her wearing nothing but his underwear, according to her suit. He's probably in the middle of a freak off or something. Richard on Friday detailed a disturbing incident to jurors in which she said she saw Combs charge at Ventura with a skillet and knock her to the floor. He locked Richard and other artists in a recording studio the following day and threatened them, she claimed. Diddy's lawyer gets aggressive with Dawn Richard as she tries to tear apart her testimony. Let's see. Sean Diddy Combs' lawyer, Nicole Westmoreland, has been trying to pick apart Dawn Richard's testimony during an aggressive grilling. Westmoreland, for instance, homed in on Richard's varying accounts of the first time Richard allegedly saw Combs beat then girlfriend Cassie Ventura at his Los Angeles home in 2009, highlighting variations in her testimony from Friday and Monday and during Richard's numerous interviews with prosecutors. All right. On Friday, Richard claimed the day after that assault, Combs gave her a veiled threat that he would kill Richard if she ever divulged what she saw. Mr. Combs had threatened you, Westmoreland said during the clinical and relentless questioning. You perceived the threats as death threats. You feared for your life? Richard responded that she was scared. You're away from Combs in 2011, but then you come and ask him to work with him again. Richard responded. Combs, wearing a camel crew neck sweater with a white shirt underneath, is observing from the defense table next to his lawyers and hasn't shown any reaction so far. Cassie's ex-best friend, Kerry Morgan, starts testifying. The one-time best friend of Cassie Ventura, Kerry Morgan, just started testifying. Morgan, 39, is the fifth witness to testify against Sean Diddy Combs. Okay, here we go. We'll hope for those live updates. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So, this is Kerry Morgan. Now okay. Here we go. So this is the beginning testimony of Kerry Morgan. So, the U.S. Attorney, did you travel with Cassie and Mr. Combs? Miss Morgan, yes. Ibiza, Miami. The U.S. Attorney says, what drugs did Mr. Combs provide? Morgan answers, Molly, marijuana, ecstasy. Attorney asks her, which did Mr. Combs take? And Morgan answers, all. It says Morgan, but I'm assuming this is the attorney, U.S. Attorney. Did you take drugs alone with Cassie? Morgan answers, opiates. International drug trafficking. Okay, now here we go. I'm reading out of order. What am I doing? Okay, so here we go. Jury is entering. The U.S. Attorney. The government calls Kerry Morgan. Where do you live? Kerry Morgan answers, Los Angeles. The U.S. attorney asks her, "Who is this? Who is this?" And they show her a photo. Kerry Morgan says, "Cassie Ventura." Okay. Okay, so who is this? Show the photo. Who is this? Kerry Morgan says, "Cassie Ventura." The attorney asks her, "What was your relationship?" Kerry Morgan answers, "We were best friends. Her boyfriend assaulted me." The U.S. attorney says, "Do you see him here?" Kerry Morgan says, "Yes. They're in a yellow sweater." The U.S. attorney says, "Let the record reflect the witness has identified defendant Sean Combs." The U.S. attorney says, "Why are you here?" And Kerry Morgan answers, "I got a subpoena." "Where did you live with Cassie?" "Manhattan." Okay. "Did Cassie drink?" And Kerry Morgan answers, "Not much." "Any drugs?" "None." "What was she doing for work?" "Modeling." "Then she recorded me and you." Attorney for the U.S. asks, "When did you learn they were dating?" Morgan says 2007. "Did you travel with Cassie and Mr. Combs?" And Kerry Morgan says, "Yes, Ibiza, Miami." "What drugs did Mr. Combs provide?" "Molly, marijuana, ecstasy," she answers. The U.S. attorney asks, "Which did Mr. Combs take?" And Morgan says, "All." "Did you take drugs alone with Cassie?" And Morgan says, "Opiates." Okay. "How did Mr. Combs act?" the attorney says. Kerry Morgan says, "He would yell at Cassie. She lost her confidence, big time, lost her spark." The attorney then asks, "Did Mr. Combs talk down to Cassie?" And Morgan says, "Yes, about her looks, who she talked to." The U.S. attorney says, "Did he contact you looking for her?" And Morgan answered, "Yeah, a lot." Kerry Morgan testified that sometimes he would call 50 times in a row. And the U.S. attorney asked, "Would others call you for him?" "Yes. Christina Coram. Others would call her for Diddy or KK." "Did you witness assaults?" And Morgan says, "Yes. First in the Hollywood Hills. Ruben, one of his security guards, was there." Excuse just these names, right? Keep name dropping. Yeah. Ruben, the security guard. KK. All these people. Like, this is intense. This is so intense. Sometimes he would call 50 times in a row. "Would others call you for him?" "Yes. Christina Coram or KK. Did you witness?" Oh, would other people call you for him? Meaning, but they were calling for Cassie, but they're calling for Diddy for Cassie. So his assistant, I'm assuming, Christina Coram. I believe that's his assistant. Yeah. This is crazy. I mean, I kind of want to know, like, okay, I want to know, I want to see if Tisa Tiles dropped out, like, came out of the courtroom. She's live right now. Oh.
Doing him right. Owen W, welcome to the Tattletales. And Pretty Brown Round One said, great.
Okay, so let's see.
However, we are going to make sense. This changes everything. We are live outside of the Diddy trial. There has been a shocking turn of events. Here's my fit check. Oops. There's a fit check. There's been a shocking turn of events. Dawn was on the stand. She gave that same groundbreaking testimony, but you guys, something has changed. Some people say this didn't go good for Dawn. The prosecution tried to make a comeback, but y'all, this might change everything. You guys, we are day 6 live from the Diddy trial. Let's get into it. The girl was live in the main courtroom, not in the overflow room, watching and seeing everything. You guys, I don't know what to think of this. However, we are going to make sense. This changes everything. Diddy was sitting back. He was very confident. Oh, if you want to know the fit chat, there are people, I think, graduating with their citizenship for the U.S. Congrats to the U.S. still letting people in. But this changes every single thing. Okay, so where do we start? Okay, Diddy came in. He had on that same tan sweater. Now this is surprising because the judge said he can have 5 different sweaters. I think he's worn that tan one twice, but I guess that's his favorite one. Okay, he came in. He was color coordinating with his publicist. It's important to note, none of the kids were there. I'm glad the publicist actually finally started listening and said, wait a second, this is a bad look. When you are talking about incredibly freaky, deaky, just not PG or family stuff, when you are talking about incredible violence, sitting there with your family, even your adult boys, who still look like they're in their early 20s, looking stone-faced, kind of makes it seem like, I don't know, it's just a family of degenerates. None of the kids were there. I think that was a very, very good look. Diddy's publicist was there, looking super beautiful. And a dress that actually matched Diddy. It makes me wonder, are they color coordinating? Diddy, the seating chart, he was sitting next to Brian Steele, that is his boo-coo, Mark Garagos, but then when Teeny came, Teeny was the one that actually went. Teeny was the one that actually sat by him. Okay, so we all have that, right? Diddy seemed worried coming in, but as Dawn's testimony unfolded, he got a little. We're about to get into the testimony, but let me just say this, when it comes to legal, law is not win or decided with one testimony unless there's a smoking gun, right? It's a house and you build it brick by brick. Everybody's testimony builds to make a story, a web so strong that there is no way that you can escape, okay? So keep in mind, when one person has a bad day of testimony, unless that testimony bad is Diddy, because he is the main person, one testimony will not make or break. Keep in mind, we are on day 6. This is expected to go all the way to July 4th. Some people even say that's going to go to July 18th. Keep in mind that Diddy's team has 2 weeks to come onto their defense. Now, a couple of interesting things that happened. We know some of the people that is going to be testifying. Okay, they name dropped Capricorn Clark. They name dropped in somebody named Mia. Of course, that is an alias. We have a bunch more people. It is shaping up who is going to be on Diddy's side and who is not. Now, listen, they didn't say that Diddy's head of security, or at that time head of security, D-Rock, would actually be named as a co-conspirator. However, his name came up a lot. Diddy's team brought it up a lot. It seemed like Diddy's team was kind of be like, oh my God, D-Rock didn't do anything. But also low-key, whenever they said somebody's name, there was an instant when they were like, who else was there? And Dawn was like, security? Who was security? Roger Bonds, and at that time, D-Rock. So they asked to enter in the pictures of D-Rock in the evidence, and they put it on the screen. And they were like, do you know who's on the screen? And she was like, that's D-Rock, right? The funny thing is, D-Rock's tip picture, he looked like America's Most Wanted. He looked like just just untrustworthy. They picked the worst picture they could pick to make him look shifty as all get out. Then they were like, do you recognize who that person is? And she's like, yeah, that's Roger Bonds. Roger Bonds' picture was sitting there with $1 million Hollywood smile. He looked so wholesome, so happy. He had a face a mother would love and trust. I said, you know what? The prosecution is kin, and I'm here for it. Baby, everybody knows that. Everybody knows that when you get into, yeah, like the 60s flip, got the curls going, right? Everybody knows, shout out to the half wig. Everybody knows that when you, listen, law is nothing but theater. And if you don't know how to run theater, then baby, you shouldn't be in law, okay? And the prosecution, they was keying while putting up a picture of D-Rock looking like a certified dirtbag. And Roger Bonds looking like a choir boy, right? Anyway, Summer Party 1999 says, brains, beauty, tenacity, you got it all. Keep going with the good work, Miss Tisa. You were my go-to for this trial. Thank you so much. Lisa McClung said, I became a member this morning. Thank you, Lisa. I love you, Tisa. I love you too, Lisa. You are definitely a truth teller. I know Epsom salt is great, but I've always been a cowgirl girl. I've been doing the Epsom salt just to make sure. And you guys, I really want to give a shout out to everybody that has been helping me fund this trip. Everything I am paying out of my pocket is a love story to you guys. Everything from security to accommodation to the fence. So I really enjoy you guys, and thank you for helping me last week to actually extend my trip. We're gonna go all the way to the top. All right, let's get into the Dawn stuff. Oh, thank you. Oh, it's good to see you too, Mama. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let me sit down because it's windy and I got on like a tennis skirt and that thing is blowing up. So let me just sit down before I give everybody a real show. Okay, so where are we at with this, okay? Y'all like this? Y'all like the curls? Y'all like the thing, right? Once I discovered half wigs 2 years ago, I was like, not wigs, but half wigs. I was like, I ain't never straighten and curling my hair again. Anyway, all right, so listen. So what happened, all right? Diddy, no cam, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now, I'll get into this, but there was a little back and forth over what could be submitted. That's when we actually found out who would be the conspirators, some of them, and who would actually be the witnesses. Harvey Pierre, I believe, is definitely going to be named as a co-conspirator. His name came up over and over and over. Now, there's a chance Mr. Pierre is testifying against Diddy, but I doubt that very much. But you never know. Let's see, right? We also got, hold on, y'all. We also got, there is Miss Morgan. That might be Capricorn Clark. There is Kid Cudi's name came up. Mr. James's name came up. Who else? Capricorn Clark, Roger Bonds, James Diamond. Baines. Of course, Bonds, she was testifying. Again, Harvey Pierre is going to be a co-conspirator, right? To overcome hearsay because specific threats made to Dawn with violence. There was also David James. There was, I think that was actually James, okay? It was USA Attorney Slonick that was doing the questions. I thought she did an amazing job. Who else did they talk about? Oh, they talked about the chef. The chef, I believe, is Chef Robles. It looks like she is going to be testifying against Diddy, of course. Listen, the defense tried to get a lot of this testimony barred. However, they did get a lot of testimony actually taken in, you know? Listen, everybody hit the like button. You know I'm trying to grow. Please, the encouragement means so much. All right, let's get into this. Now, listen, some people say that Dawn was useless. Let's get into it because I don't think so. Honeybee said, God bless you, Tisa, for all that you do. Excellent reporting. Now, listen, let me be clear. Dawn seemed like at first that she was actually changing her story. Malika Garrett, thank you so much for the super chat. Where's my bumblebees at? I'm sitting by the garage. The other day when we were here, there were giant, cute little chubby, furry bumblebees flying around. I said, ooh, good luck. Anyway, right? I was stalking a bumblebee on my live. Cousin Pam said the fit is fitting and the hair is giving. That girl, love it. Oh, thank you. Okay, so listen. We need to say this before we get into Dawn's testimony because I'm always going to be hard. Was it the strongest? No. Okay? Because, Miss Westmoreland, that is the black woman on Diddy's team. She is very, very excellent, okay? She did a great job. I see why Brian Still and her work closely together. her, Xavier, and Brian still are on the MF money, right? They are a problem that the prosecution needs to get on their thing. The rest of Diddy's team, okay, whatever, right? But I definitely think that they are a problem. So, where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Oh, thank you, Mama. So where are we at with this? Okay, let's get into Dawn's testimony, right? Okay. So first of all, the U.S. attorney starts off and they talk about Dawn with the egg skillet and Diddy calling us back. She says, "Can you take us through that again?" Okay, Crystal Cove, thank you so much for the super chat, right? Listen. Also, really quick, yeah. Okay, so listen. So that actually happened, right? However, she went back to Cassie that she tried to hit him with the skillet, right? That Diddy told her that was just passion, that they were seeing that Cassie was okay, that if they said anything, they would go missing. She took that to mean they would be murked. She didn't react. She was shocked and scared the first time with dirty money around them, and she didn't want to continue. She said she saw Cassie frequently after that, studio, hotels, and house. And studios, the hotels, and of course, Daddy's house, Diddy's house, whatever. They said Daddy's house was the studio. She said she saw frequent violence. And they asked, what was the violence? She said, I saw him punch Cassie in the mouth and stomach. I saw him choke her. I saw him drag her. Now, pay attention to this testimony, right? Y'all know I'm going to give the dramatic reinterpretation. I'm trying to get a good angle. I'm like sitting in the sun. I'm trying to give the dramatic reinterpretation, but honestly, y'all, like, I think a lot of people will say this wasn't good. I didn't see it like that. I saw this as the prosecution prepping all the witnesses to be completely honest, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. No need to play to the crowd. No need to put 20 on 10. Tell them what you felt and try. I thought that Cassie and Dawn were very, very truthful. And let me just listen to this, right? But again, she got tripped up with Miss Westmoreland, and there were some parts that I was like, ooh, there were some parts where I was like, ooh, I fear Miss Westmoreland just ate Dawn all the way up, okay? We got to call a spade, all right? She said, why did Cassie did hit? And she said, why? Anytime she spoke up, she said Cassie was super, super soft-spoken. It was random. If she wanted to perform, if she had an opinion, if she opened her mouth, Diddy would be like, pop, 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 right? Pop, 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 pop. Anyway, right? Again, Cassie was very quiet and soft-spoken. She said that they were like, well, how come you didn't stick up for her? This is prosecution still questioning Dawn. She was like, yo, I feel like if I spoke up, if this is the way he treated his girl that he was supposed to love, what was he going to do to me? Someone that he didn't know he was giving an opportunity. And to be honest with you, I needed that dirty money stuff, right? She said, who was present when she was beaten? She said, Capricorn Clark, Harvey Pierre, and Mia. I have it on good authority that Capricorn Clark is testifying for the prosecution. Harvey Pierre, we don't know yet. He might have flipped, but it sounds like he was actually testifying. And then, of course, you got Mia, right? Mia testifying for the prosecution. Okay. Those are the people that witnessed this. They said Mia and Capricorn were Diddy's assistants and the head of Brown work. It makes me think, is Mia KK? Because how many other assistants did this man have? Was that KK? Jay also said D-Rock and bonds for security. Again, that's where the prosecution started keying, and they put up a dirtbag picture of D-Rock. The government was keying, all this other stuff. Putting up a picture of Roger Bonds looking so wholesome and happy. I said, okay, I see what you guys are going. They said that what would happen when Diddy hit Cassie. They said nobody would do anything. Security wouldn't even respond. They said, where did she hit her? I saw him hit her in the face, the lips, the eyes, the knees, right? Cassie used clothing and glasses to cover up. They said at the festival to announce dirty money, there was a particularly horrifying scene. They were getting ready in Diddy's New York City apartment, right? And Cassie and Diddy were arguing in the hallway right outside of, y'all see the federal building? We're arguing in the hallway right outside of the bathroom where Kalina and Dawn were doing their makeup, okay? Dawn said she saw Diddy punch Cassie in the face with a closed fist. Cassie went into the bathroom. I guess the door was open. Cassie went into the bathroom crying, and she was just looking for some way to make sense of it, okay? Listen, Dawn said she saw Cassie's eyes swelling. Cassie literally started going to work doing makeup to hide. She said she wore sunglasses, right? She said she remained by Cassie's side after the beating, right? There was a picture that the prosecution put up when Cassie was wearing sunglasses, Dawn was wearing sunglasses, and Kalina were wearing sunglasses, and none of them took the sunglasses off because they said they did that in solidarity with Cassie, okay? She also said there was a 2010 incident. Antonia, thank you so much. You said thank you for all you do. I love your commentary. Thank you, Antonia. There was a 2010 incident in a West Hollywood restaurant. They said Diddy punched Cassie in the stomach. There were people from Bad Boy label. There were celebrities. Diddy punched Cassie in the stomach. They were like, who was there that worked for Diddy? And Dawn was like, because the prosecution only asked her, and this is important to remember, who was there that worked for Diddy? Victoria Anderson, thank you so much for the super chat. Dawn said HP, right? Harvey Pierre, Capricorn Clark, Mia, Roger Bonds, and also somebody called Glenn Harper, right? They showed a picture of Harvey Pierre. They put up a picture of him looking sinister in his suit, looking like Lex Luthor. I said the prosecution is king. They said Harvey Pierre answered to Diddy. He did nothing about intervening, but Harvey Pierre got in the car to head, so they all got in the car, the little Sprinter bus, to head back to the LA house. Kimberly Coins, thank you so much for the super chat. They were arguing. D-Rock was driving, Diddy was sitting next to Cassie, Dawn and Kalina were sitting in the last seat, right? Romel P, thank you so much for the super chat. She said out the blue, Diddy literally grabbed Cassie by the neck and slapped her mouth and told her to shut the F up. And everybody went quiet for the rest of the trip, all right? Now, she said Cassie had big dreams. She wanted to make an album. She wanted it to be a superstar. Diddy didn't like when they talked to Cassie about anything. Diddy didn't like when they talked to Cassie about the album. Nicola, thank you so much for the super chat. Daniela Johnson, you said thanks for what you do. Thank you so much. You guys, thank you so much for all the funding. Okay, so what else happened? He wanted somebody to... Another thing, right? They said, what about this when you said Cassie got punched in the face, right? Official Lee said, love you. He said, Lady Diana said, this is... So anyway, literally, I was just like, okay, now Westmoreland is dragging out. Why on earth would cameras be filming Cassie and...
Okay, let's see where we're at when it comes to Inner City Press and their updates with Kerry Morgan. Okay, so the last one we read was, so sometimes he would call 50 times in a row, and the U.S. attorney would say, would others call you for him? And Morgan said, yes, Christina Coram or KK. The U.S. attorney says, did you witness assaults? And Morgan says, yes, first in the Hollywood Hills, Ruben, one of his security guards, was there. The U.S. attorney asked, what did Mr. Combs do to Cassie? Kerry Morgan responds, he kicked her. USA attorney says, well, what did she do? And Morgan says, nothing. I told Ruben to do something. He indicated he wouldn't. The U.S. attorney says, then what? And Morgan says, we left the house. Cassie and I were hiding by someone's front steps. The U.S. attorney says, and the next time? Kerry Morgan says, in Jamaica. I saw him drag her by her hair, which seems to be one of his favorite things to do. Same thing he did on the video. I ran back to get my purse and phone so we could leave. The attorney asks, what did you see next? Kerry Morgan responds, I thought she was knocked out. Then she got up and ran into a wooded area. It was scary. The U.S. attorney says, what happened next? Kerry Morgan responds, there were 2 golf carts in the driveway. I got in one and Sean got in the other. We went in different directions looking for Cassie. Attorney asked, did you find her? And Morgan says, yes. Then we hid in a ditch, whispering. So, what about the incident? What about the incident at Comstock Apartments? Kerry Morgan says, Cassie came back with a hoodie covering her face. Then Sean came in and tried to get in, hitting the door with a hammer. I called D-Rock. The U.S. attorney asked, did he get in? And Morgan says, no, the police came in. So, okay, I mean, let's see. CNN's. Okay, so. Okay, so let's see. So let's just start with Danny Kane Singer has finished testifying. Okay, so Cassie Ventura's former friend, Kerry Morgan, is called to the stand. Cassie Ventura's former longtime friend, Kerry Morgan, has been called to the stand. She is the sixth witness to testify. Earlier, the judge ruled that Morgan could testify that Ventura told her that she was scared of Sean Combs and told her that she couldn't break up with him because he controlled her career, that's hearsay though, right? I mean, really, legally. Ventura's former best friend says they no longer speak because Combs assaulted her. Kerry Morgan said that she was best friends with Cassie Ventura between 2001 to 2018, but they currently do not speak. She said that they stopped being friends in 2018 because her boyfriend assaulted me, specifying that the boyfriend was Sean Diddy Combs. Morgan said she's testifying because she was subpoenaed, but she doesn't want to be here. When asked why she didn't want to testify, Morgan replied, I have moved on with my life away from all these people and the problems. Ventura's former friend describes the early years of their relationship. Kerry Morgan says she first met Cassie Ventura on a modeling shoot when she was 16 and Ventura was 15 around 2001. They started living together in 2004 in New York City. In the first few years of their friendship, Ventura didn't drink much alcohol and didn't use any drugs, Morgan testified. Morgan, now 39, currently works as a personal assistant in California. Morgan says Combs could be extremely generous or become aggressive. Kerry Morgan said she traveled with Sean Diddy Combs and Cassie Ventura to several U.S. cities and other countries like Spain and Italy, getting to know the music mogul very well. They would all take drugs, usually provided by Combs, Morgan said. And Combs was very nice and extremely generous, but also sort of intimidating and had a strong presence, Morgan said. As she got to know him, Morgan testified that she learned Combs had mood swings. He would get aggressive and upset, often yelling at Ventura, she said. Pee-wee. Morgan says she witnessed Combs assault Ventura twice, and both times he was sober. Kerry Morgan testified she saw Sean Diddy Combs assault Cassie Ventura on 2 occasions. So his defense being that he was on drugs or anything like that is just like, it's not a defense to begin with, but adding that Combs hit Ventura, pulled her hair, kicked her, and pushed her. Morgan testified Combs was not intoxicated or high during these times. He's just a monster. In one of the occasions, Morgan said she was at Combs' Los Angeles home with Combs, Ventura, and one of Combs' security guards. I saw him push her. I'm pretty sure he hit her, Morgan said. They were on the other side of a bed, so I'm not sure if he kicked her or something. She said Ventura didn't do anything in response. Morgan said she asked one of Combs' security guards to intervene, but he responded that he wasn't going to do anything. Combs criticized Ventura's appearance and behavior, Morgan testifies. Kerry Morgan testifies that Cassie Ventura was very confident when they first met, but then she lost her confidence. Over the course of their friendship from the early 2000s to 2018, Ventura and Sean Diddy Combs dated from around 2007 to 2018, according to previous testimony. Morgan heard Combs criticize Ventura's appearance, how she behaved, and who she talked to. Morgan testified. Combs would call Ventura repeatedly until she answered him, Morgan said. Sometimes he'd call 50 times in a row, Morgan testified. There were also times that Combs or his employees would contact Morgan to get in contact with Ventura, Morgan said. Looking back on Sean Diddy Combs' history with MTV's Making the Band reality series, a new refocus has been put on Sean Diddy Combs' history with one of the original singing competitions that was MTV's Making the Band, as former Danity Kane member Don Richard has been testifying in Combs' criminal federal trial. Richard, who testified today about witnessing Combs physically assault Cassie Ventura, said that she worked for Combs between 2004 and 2011. She was a member of Danity Kane, a group formed by Combs as part of the reality series in 2005, alongside former group members Aubrey O'Day, Andrea Fimbres, Shannon Becks, and Dee Woods. Making the Band debuted on ABC in 2000 with Backstreet Boys and NSYNC producer Lou Pearlman, who first formed the group O-Town on the show's first season. I watched all of this. I watched everything. I was such a fan. But I was not a fan of Diddy, and I hated the way he treated the girls and how he would just gaslight and pick fights and degrade these women, because you could tell because they were powerful. They could be powerful. And he just wanted to make sure that he established that dominance over them the whole entire time. So, subsequent seasons were overseen by Combs when it moved to MTV in 2002. Combs ran the ship as he searched to form a hip-hop group in Making the Band 2, which featured contestants living together in New York City as they competed for a record deal with Combs' Bad Boy Records. The group The Band was formed during the season. Danity Kane was then formed in 2005 during Making the Band 3, a season in which Combs sought to put together an all-girls singing group, which was my favorite season of all of them. The third installment of the reality show lasted for 3 seasons, and Danity Kane became known for its hit singles, including Touching My Body and Damaged. But that success did not carry over for Richard following her time on the show. She testified today, saying on the stand that the music she's released since hasn't reached the same level of success, and that she felt saddened when Combs dismantled both Danity Kane and Diddy Dirty Money, a musical trio that included Richard, Combs, and singer Kalina Harper. The Making the Band franchise ended in 2009. Musical acts as Day 26 and Donnie Klang were also formed during respective seasons of the series. Okay, so the U.S. Attorney asked Kerry Morgan what happened. Okay, so I'll read the one before. So the incident we're talking about is at Kamsock apartment. Kerry Morgan says that Cassie came back with a hoodie covering her face. Then Sean came in and tried to get in, hitting the door with a hammer. I called D-Rock. Did he get in? No, the police came. So the attorney said, what happened? Kerry Morgan said, Cassie wouldn't show them her ID. Nothing happened. Or Cassie wouldn't show them her ID, so nothing happened. They left a card. The U.S. attorney asked her to read this message. Did you send an attachment? And she said, yes, a photo of the card the detective left. It's crazy how he tried to break in with a hammer. Like a hammer, bruh. Bruh, that's crazy. Did Mr. Combs ever assault you? Kerry Morgan said, yes. He hit me with a wood coat hanger and choked me. The attorney asked, where did the hanger hit you? And Morgan said, behind my right ear. Behind me right ear. Just kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, Morgan, behind my right ear. attorney for the U.S. says, what did he express concern about? Morgan said who Cassie was cheating on him with. So yeah, he was just hitting everyone. Why would he hit her friend? Like, he's just beating everyone. I mean, you would think, like, you would have some discretion. Let's see. This guy is so ridiculous. What does it say? Talking politics, AI, and the Diddy trial. I wonder if he's a bot. This is crazy. This is insane. So if you like Diddy, I don't know, man. Like, Diddy is so cooked. Diddy is so cooked. Yeah, this is crazy. A hammer. A hammer. Oh, I mean, I wonder if they will call D-Rock. Like, can they? It's like, can they? He died in 2020. What? Oh, he needed to write a book before he did. Damn it, why did he die? We needed him. I mean, all of the men is like around, and none of them stopped him from being overly aggressive to women because he was the boss. He was the kingpin. He was the leader. He was the guy with the money. He was the guy that wrote all their paychecks. He's the one with all of the power. That's just how it is. And I mean, you have a steady flow of money coming in, and he probably has some dirt on his damn security guards as well. I wouldn't doubt it, you know, and like, they're not going to stop him. They're his yes men. They're his henchmen. They're not his employees. They're his henchmen. He was given the key to the city. I know. This is crazy and crazy day after day. Yeah, I agree. I'm waiting for the defense because the defense seems to be the only ones backing up everything with documentation, text, and evidence. People just be doing hearsay and just... I don't know about that. Okay, so, Cassie says, Kerry Morgan says, yes, he hit me with a wood coat hanger and choked me. Where did the hanger hit you? Behind my right ear. What did he express concern about? Morgan says who Cassie was cheating on him with. The U.S. attorney says, who did you speak to about it? Kerry Morgan says, Ryan, Sean's old assistant. Another one we got. Another name. Here we go. And then the attorney says, what did he do? And Morgan says, nothing, shrugs, I have not spoken with Cassie since. I think that's crazy. Like I get it that happened to her, but like, why would you stop talking to your friend instead of maybe like, yeah, maybe once she left him, then it, I don't know. I don't know the dynamic of the relationship. I don't want to speculate on it. Oh. My chills are mating, and there's a whole Diddy party over here on my floor. I got a Diddy party on my floor with all my birds. Ugh. Okay, whatever. No Diddy party. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so the judge is going to go on a break. Let's see. What time is it? We've been going on for a while now. Let's see what we have here. We have some updates on this one. He's putting his hands on his girlfriend is one thing, but what would it make him think that to beat her friend? To beat her friend. Come on. Okay, this right here is like, what? The hammer thing is getting me. It's getting me. So, like, did he try to bust open Cassie's front door with the hammer after infamous hotel beating? Okay. Chill. Okay. So, Sean Diddy Combs tried to bust down the front door at the home of his then-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, with a hammer following his infamous caught on video hotel beating of her. No. Okay. I wasn't putting this all together. So, wait. Oh my gosh. Okay. So Cassie and Kerry Morgan were both at Cassie's home after that whole freak off fight, that beating that got caught on camera in the hotel. He went to her house and freaking tried to get hitting the door with a hammer to try to open it. Are you freaking kidding me? At her house. But since he pays for it, he thinks he has every right to go in there and disturb her in her peace. Because he provides it. She can't have peace. It's his peace. He owns it. He owns her peace. Morgan said she was terrified when she saw Combs through the people using the tool to try to break in. Oh my God. I don't even know what I would do. But Ventura looked numb. But you could see she's numb. She was disassociating, most likely. Disassociating and just trying to, like, take her mind out of the situation that she was in. I was freaking out. I don't think Ventura cared if Combs came in and killed her. Morgan said, yes, she probably had that accepted years ago, because you're in an abusive relationship like that. And it escalates to the type of beatings that are happening, every other day, with bruises and marks left on your body. You tend to accept the fact that you may die one day. I'm a victim of abuse. I understand the mentality of it. And it takes a long time to get out of that. And it's really hard psychologically to break yourself from that psychological hold that your abuser has on you. And sometimes it's easier to let them win than to fight for your freedom. Especially when someone has financial control over another person. That's what makes it really difficult for anyone to move on. Okay, so this man faces life in prison. He needs to be in prison for life. Like, the other day with him, like, losing his shit in trial, like, and writing notes all aggressively to his legal team to ask questions to Cassie, and when she was on the stand, it's a lot. So I didn't realize that. So she saw her assault him twice. Blah blah blah. Saw Diddy assault Cassie twice. So wait, Jamaica, and then she saw him hit her. Saw him hit her in the bedroom of Bad Boy's Record, and then in Jamaica. So did he hit her when he was trying to break down or he never got in? They called the cops. That's right. That's she testified that they never got in. Called the cops. Nothing happened because Cassie would not give her her ID. So nothing ended up happening, and they left a card, and that's what they had showed as evidence in court about that the card was left by the detectives. Whew, that's a lot. And imagine, like, okay, this one, Cassie Ventura. This is the first time, or the time in. Is this the time in Jamaica? Cassie Ventura's ex-best friend Kerry Morgan told jurors about the 2 times she saw Sean Diddy Combs allegedly assault Ventura. The first time, Morgan said, she saw Combs push Ventura, and she thought she also saw him hit her while they were in the primary bedroom of the Bad Boy Records founder's Los Angeles home, and she was standing in the entryway. So they're in his room, primary bedroom, probably the one with the big bed. Kidding. I don't know. Los Angeles home, and she was standing in the entryway. Afterward, Morgan left the house with Ventura, and the pair hid out on the front steps of a neighbor's house for 30 minutes. The second alleged assault happened around January 2013 when a group of friends, including Combs, Ventura, and Morgan, were all on a trip in Jamaica. The fallen music mogul got incensed when Ventura took too long in the bathroom. 2 minutes later, I heard screaming. Morgan recalled, adding, it was terrifying. Morgan said she saw Combs drag Ventura 10 feet along the floor before Morgan grabbed her purse in case she had to run. When she came back, Combs was outside with Ventura. I saw him push her on the ground and she hit her head on a brick, Morgan recounted. She didn't move. Oof. Morgan said Ventura was lying in a loose fetal position and her eyes were closed. I thought she was knocked out, she testified. Noting Ventura appeared to be out for 20 to 30 seconds. The 2 women bolted and crouched in a ditch for what felt like hours as they hid from Combs. Oh my God. Imagine going to Jamaica and you're literally hiding in a ditch from the people you went there with. That is your significant other and people. Let me tell y'all, like, in my headspace now and the person I am now, the strong person I am now, you know, I'm a fighter. But in the headspace I was when I was in the mentality of a victim and the victim mentality of being with an abuser, it's just sometimes just so much easier to just let it happen. And the more you fight, the longer the beatings, or the longer the aggression. And so sometimes in order to just make it stop, just giving in, let it take its course, and dealing with the repercussions after, you know, that dissociation kicks in and you just kind of zone out and let it take its course, and then come back when it's done and figure out how to handle everything. And it's brutal and it's rough, and granted that would never happen to me now, but when you're in that, especially being young, because I was young too in that situation, and being financially dependent on that person, it was very, very hard. So I can, and he didn't have my career. I didn't have a career through him, but I did have a child with him. But when you have somebody like this who is gatekeeping and has full control over even when you get to work on your career, is just insane. It's abuse. Abuse. Definitely abuse. But I mean, he's not on trial for abuse, right? I mean, we got the sex trafficking, we got other than, I mean, I see the racketeering, how he's using an enterprise, the enterprise he built through his music company, using the funds through his music company to provide criminal and fund criminal activity, either for his own interests or personal gain. He's a racketeering. He's using it. He built an enterprise, but he's using that enterprise in a criminal way. Right? Me, I'm just, I'm still a student, criminal justice student. I'm a senior criminal justice student. Looking to go into law school, but I'm probably going to go to grad school for music first, since that really can't wait. But I law school can wait for me. So there's something I want to do with law eventually in the future, but I'm not really sure yet. I just need to get my grad school for my music out of the way. I'm going to finish my criminal justice undergrad. I have a minor in music and flute, and I am going to just go and just finish, go to grad school for music, and see what happens with that. And then, only because with music, I study with someone who is like a principal flautist in one of the big orchestras here in town, and I'm not going to always be at this level. So if I graduate and don't continue with my master's and just go straight to law school, then I feel like my music's just going to end forever. But I don't want that to happen. But law school can wait a couple of years, right? It can wait. So we have a couple updates. Let's see. So court takes a quick lunch break. 30-minute lunch break. Lawyers from both parties remain ironing out some issues. Yeah, they better. Little turds. Diddy beat Cassie's best friend to find out who she was cheating on him with. Sean Diddy Combs beat then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura's best friend to find out who she was cheating on him with, according to testimony. Kerry Morgan, the ex-best friend of Ventura's, said once in 2018, Combs came to Ventura's apartment in the Hollywood Hills and attacked her from behind. What a bitch. What a bitch. What a bitch. From behind. He choked her. Combs choked me, Morgan testified. When I got up, he boomeranged the hanger at my head. What? Oh my God. Okay. So I'm over here thinking I don't understand. I need a visual for this. I need a visual for this because I feel like my first visual was just that he grabbed the hanger and just beat her up, right? But now she's boomeranging, he threw it at her. Oh, okay. He left finger marks on my neck and hit. Morgan said Combs left finger marks on my neck, and he hit her behind the ear with a wooden coat hanger. The maybe boomerang means right after a combo. Gave her a 2-piece and a biscuit. I don't know. The Bad Boy Records producer wanted to know who Cassie was cheating on him with. I had no idea, Morgan said. After Morgan went to an urgent care facility and was told she had a concussion from the assault, she was dizzy and even threw up a few times from the beating. She claimed, oh my God, the trauma. The trauma. She had a concussion. After Morgan went to an urgent care facility, Stop it! After Morgan, my birds are driving me nuts. After Morgan went to After Morgan went to an urgent care facility and was told she had a concussion from the assault, she was dizzy and even threw up a few times from the beating, she claimed. Bruh. Do you know how hard you have to be hit to get a concussion? To throw up from? Like, I mean, how many times have you hit your head and you were just fine? You're not throwing up and it was hard, right? There's times I've hit my head so hard and I'm like, well, but I don't have a concussion. I'm just like, I'm not throwing up. And I guess everyone's different though, but still. Morgan said she lawyered up and planned to sue, but she didn't end up bringing a civil claim against Combs because he paid her $30,000. $30,000 was not enough. $30,000 was not enough. It was not enough. Nope. Ventura met with Morgan at a pizza place in Hollywood and accused her bestie of over-exaggerating. Cassie has been desensitized to the beatings. She's used to them. She accepts them. They're not a big deal to her. Even like I'm not even gonna lie. When I saw the beating of Cassie and to me, I don't want it to make it seem like I'm minimizing it, but in my head it was like, okay, that wasn't too bad, because maybe putting myself in those situations, I know the capacity of what I've gone through, and seeing her go through, and I'm desensitized by it. But the average person that wasn't being, and abused is not desensitized by it, and we're almost like, it was just the shock and the what's the word I'm looking for? The outrage. The outrage was just everywhere. And I get it. It's ridiculous, but coming from somebody like me who is a victim of domestic violence and who has had to go through that before, I was even desensitized by the video, thinking it wasn't that bad. You could see in the video that she knew what was coming next. The way she waited in the fetal position for him to grab her and drag her by the hair down the hall. It's one of those things that, she accepted it. You could tell that she wasn't going to fight back. She accepted the beating, and she took precautions to make sure that she didn't get as hurt as she could have. In the process, her trying to fight him in that mentality and in that abusive behavior in that episode it's too much. She's never gonna win. It would just cause her to be beaten even more aggressively, because he needs to teach her a lesson to not talk back and to listen to him. He's the boss. He's the king. We know this. He's the king, right? My ex used to tell me, he who has the gold makes the rules. So I never had a say in anything ever when it came to the financial status of our family. So, but I get it. He who has the gold makes the rules, right? You don't have the gold. You don't have the connections. You don't have the resources. You don't have the network. Not without me. Look at this lavish apartment I put you up in. Look at this. Look at all of these features I have you with. All these different, artists are coming in and working with you. I'm not, little birds. I'm not talking to you, birds. I'm not talking to you, birds. Shh. Yeah, so let's see. We have some updates on here. Jury departs for a lunch break. So she received... Okay, so Morgan testifies that Sean Combs assaulted her in Cassie Ventura's apartment in 2018. Combs let himself into the apartment while Ventura was in the bathroom. Morgan said, he came up behind me and choked me and then boomeranged a wooden hanger at my head. Morgan testified, adding that she had finger marks on her neck. Morgan says she gathered her belongings and left, telling an assistant, he's going crazy, like he's lost it. So he's going crazy. He's lost it. The assistant just shrugged and said, I don't think he knew what he could do about it. Morgan said of the assistant. Yeah, what can he do about it? If this man, this assistant, this random employee of Sean Combs decides to go against Sean Combs, and we're talking about the people, these are the guys that had stopped eating my computer. The guys that were going in and getting Cassie when Combs wanted her. Looking for her, grabbing her and bringing her to wherever he wanted her to be. It's nuts. So, Morgan testified she was planning on filing a lawsuit after the 2018 assault, but didn't. She said she met up with Ventura about a month after the incident, and Ventura told her she would be receiving $30,000 from Combs. At this meeting, $30,000. No. It's not. $30,000 is not enough, right, Burbs? Right, Burbs? No way, right? I know. $30,000 not enough. At this meeting, Ventura told Morgan that she was over-exaggerating. But she's just this could be, damage control done by Diddy where he's like, Cassie, we don't want her doing this. We don't want, Morgan doing this or that. So to go to her, tell her, give her $30,000 and let her know she's overreacting. That's not a big deal. That we see it like it's not a big deal. So she has to see it like it's not a big deal. Right? Bruh. Yeah. So. Okay, so since the Diddy trial is, let's see what we can watch right now, because I need to get something to eat. I'm starving. What can we watch on the, maybe Long Crime has something on it, since it's,
been involved in an accident that wasn't your fault? Yes? You're sitting on a massive payout and don't even know it. Compare your case to...
no.
To your knowledge, this was particularly offensive to Mr. Combs because of Kid Cudi's stature in the industry, right?
To my knowledge, yeah.
And Mr. Combs was irate over this, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Combs was not cheating on you with other celebrities, right?
I don't know.
You don't recall what kind of drugs you took?
I mean, it was usually always the same kind of thing. So I would guess that's what we took, like ecstasy or MDMA.
We're about an hour away from testimony resuming in Diddy's federal sex trafficking trial. Another former bad boy artist is set to retake the stand to detail his alleged bad acts to the jury. And cameras are banned inside the courtroom, but with the help of AI, testimony is being heard like never before. This morning, we're focusing on Cassie's cross and what could tip the scales. And in the retrial for defendant Karen Reed, the medical examiner took the stand last week and described the injuries to John O'Keefe, which contributed to his death. Our experts weigh in on what it means for the case against his former girlfriend. And the man convicted of the murder of Holly Bobo is asking for a new trial. We're shining a spotlight on his case. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Monday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm your host, Julie Grant. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. We planned a great show for you this morning, so let's get it started. Grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. They're off to the races. The federal government is well on its way to proving the charges against Sean Diddy Combs. What we heard from Cassie Ventura legally constitutes so much more than domestic violence. Her testimony arguably proves 2 counts of that indictment. Count 2, that Cassie was sex trafficked by Combs, and count 3, that Cassie and commercial sex workers were transported by Combs to engage in prostitution. With count 2, legally, what you need is somebody providing somebody else to engage in a commercial sex act by force or by coercion and across state lines. With count 3, you need to knowingly transport somebody across state lines to engage in prostitution and to, in fact, do so. And Cassie testified that Combs controlled her life, her career opportunities, her finances, nearly everything, and that he would coerce her into those freak-offs, for which they traveled to different U.S. cities. She would have sex for days with paid male escorts who were procured from different places so that Combs could watch and masturbate. Combs would continue giving Cassie money, she said, career opportunities, and a lavish lifestyle, and would go so far as to blackmail her with videos of those freak-offs in order to intimidate her into doing more. That is what she said. She testified that the freak-offs left her physically hurting and physically sick, and they became like her job. My friends, all of those facts legally establish the elements that prosecutors have to prove with the crimes of sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution with respect to Cassie Ventura. Yes, domestic violence was present in their relationship, but week 1's evidence arguably proves much more. Conduct that was in violation of federal laws. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. We'll have more on this case coming up in just a moment, but first, let's get you your daily docket.
Hey there, no need to adjust your TV, or more likely your phone. You're watching a recycled commercial. See, at Mint Mobile, we're always looking for innovative ways to save our money so we can save you money.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree premeditated murder. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree felony murder.
All right, in Michigan, we've got convicted killer Linda Sturmer learning her fate today. You'll recall she was convicted last month for the murder of her husband. Sentencing for her is going to begin at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. In Massachusetts, we've got the prosecution's case continuing in defendant Karen Reed's retrial. Court resumes at 9 a.m. Eastern. We will go there live together when it does. And in New York, we've got Diddy's sex trafficking trial resuming at 9 a.m. Eastern Time with more testimony from Diddy's former artist, Don Richard. And that is our top story as his case continues this morning. It's the focus for many people in the true crime community and across the country. Now, although Cassie Ventura's marathon testimony may be over, jurors are hearing more testimony that helps corroborate some of it from another bad boy artist, Don Richard. She's going to continue with her direct examination today. This as prosecutors are trying to point to Diddy's alleged physical and sexual abuse of Ventura and other people. For more on Friday's action, let's go to New York City now. Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Croft is outside the courthouse with the latest.
Good morning to you, Julie. The criminal trial for Sean Combs will get back underway shortly here in New York City. On Friday, it was such an emotional day inside the courthouse here. Cassie Ventura on the stand, breaking down at times as she was talking about those freak-offs. After the cross-examination of Cassie was completed, Sean Combs actually hugged his defense counsel. Sean Combs listening closely as his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, detailed how she felt forced to take part in sexual freak-offs, testifying that Combs would take her phone, passport, watch, and other possessions when he was angry with her. She did burst into tears when she talked about the freak-offs, saying she would give back the $20 million settlement if she would have never had to do the freak-offs. After the conclusion of Cassie Ventura's testimony, her attorney read a statement from Cassie in which she thanked those who have supported her, and her husband Alex Fine said in a statement that Sean Combs thought he could break Cassie, but he couldn't.
This week has been extremely challenging, but also remarkably empowering and healing for me. I hope that my testimony has given strength and a voice to other survivors and can help others who have suffered to speak up and also heal from abuse and fear.
All right, I'm back.
For me, the more I heal,
I have like no food.
the more I can remember.
Like no food. I go in my
And
kitchen
the more
and
I
I
can remember, the more
why did you even
I will never
think
forget.
there was something in here?
And Julie, when court does get back underway this morning here in New York City, Dawn Richard will be back on the witness stand for direct examination. She testified on Friday that she witnessed a situation in which Sean Combs was beating Cassie. Also this week, Cassie's mother is expected to be called as a witness. That's the latest from here in New York City. Julie, we'll send it back to you.
Oh, thanks to Kelly Craft. Boy, oh boy, it's going to be another big week in this case. Dawn Richard, so key for so many reasons. Talking about how after she saw one of those terrible beatings, she said that Diddy said to her, "You best not say anything."
I've been
Dear
really
Dr.
sick
Ng,
these last,
my missing teeth isolated me from the world. I trusted Clear Choice, and you gave me back my smile and my confidence in one day. Thank you.
Sorry,
you're welcome. You deserve it.
I'm really bad.
I'm not quoting him directly, but he essentially said you shouldn't say anything because when people speak up, people go missing. She thought, what could that mean? Something with Cassie? Would Cassie go missing? Would she go missing? Let's talk about it. Let's bring in our guest. I'm so happy to have on the program criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Mario Gallucci. He's a heavy hitter up there in New York and New Jersey. Had another case at the federal courthouse this week. I'm asking about that in a sec. And we have entertainment commentator, actress, photographer Holland Reed, someone who actually had worked together before with Diddy. Holland, good morning to you as well. Great to have you both here. Let's start with your thoughts on week number 1. Holland, tell me, what were the biggest takeaways for you, seeing this case that you've read so much about and spoken so much about, finally getting into the courtroom and finally getting that testimony under oath from these witnesses like Cassie?
Julie, I always love your loaded questions because, man, I don't have enough time in this segment to even dive into it. But I will say this. I was tearing up listening because there is so much healing that is happening, because silence is loyalty and loyalty is currency in the music industry. And unfortunately, that's what we are witnessing right now. We are witnessing someone so brave, speaking up no matter what happens. I say to her reputation, she's not trying to defend her actions. She's trying to state the facts. She is coming with truth and with humility, and also saying, yes, I did participate in this, but it was through coercion. It was through the acts of someone that was in power. It's insanely intense to listen to the things. When I was back last week on your show, I said the jurors have to be someone that are willing to deal with something so disgusting, disgusting as far as evidence. And this is exactly what I was talking about. There are so many layers to this. We know that. But as far as Cassie, I just saw someone who is 8.5 months pregnant, being brave to stand up to one of the biggest moguls in the world and say what she had to say to start shutting things down. This is a reckoning for the music industry. This is a reckoning for those who think that they've gotten away with things for so long. I couldn't be more proud of her, not just as a victim, but someone that literally has nothing to lose at this point. Like she said, like her lawyer said, she would give that money back if she was not a 21, 22-year-old, vulnerable, gullible, aspiring talent. And I'm just so proud that she was able to stand up there. And other than that, there's so much more to dive into. But yes, loaded question, Julie, loaded question.
I love your answers. Loaded answers, Holland. I could listen to you all day. Honest to goodness, I could.
Sorry.
No. I love it. I love everything you said there. Preach. I'm with you. I think Cassie is going to be the face of surviving abuse and domestic violence and sex trafficking. I really do. I think she's going to be a survivor we all remember for a long, long time. Of course, she's not perfect. Of course not. Mario Gallucci, let me ask you about that.
She's going to be one
a couple things I want to dive
for a long time in regards to domestic violence. And I get so reminiscent of the Amber Heard trial, of how hard she tried to display abuse at the hands of Johnny Depp. And she was just unable to do it. And that wasn't,
the testimony about Cassie saying, quote,
Cassie is who Amber Heard tried to be.
I'd give that money back if I never had to do freak-offs, talking about the $20 million in settlement money she got from Sean Combs back in November of 2023. His defense team had some ammunition there to throw at her with that, saying that, look, you didn't go to police, you went to civil court with a lawyer, you wanted money. Mario, how far do you think those arguments are going to go with the jury, considering the other brutal testimony that they heard about what she was made to endure?
Good morning, Julie. So credibility is always an issue, and what they're trying to do is destroy this young lady's credibility. They're trying to say that she was money hungry, that she participated willingly in these events, and that now she wants money for doing it. How far did it go? I don't think it went very far. I agree that she's coming off very well here. She's very courageous. I think that she's going to be the poster child for all women who have gone through these things. She's coming in there 8 months pregnant, and I think she's doing a wonderful job up there for not only for herself, but for the many people that have also gone through the same types of events.
Yeah, most definitely. Beautifully said, Mario. I have a clip that we were able to give to everybody based on IA technology that we married with the actual court transcripts to generate some voices to read exactly what Cassie said. And this explains a little bit of why she stayed and why she continued to endure the abuse that she says she received throughout the progression of her relationship with Combs.
Ms. Ventura, you were upset that you weren't integrated into Mr. Combs' family life, right?
Yep.
That you didn't get a chance to form a relationship with his children, right?
Correct.
You had been together with him for years at this point, right?
Almost 7 years here.
And you still hadn't been on family trips with him and his children, right?
Nope.
When you would see photos of him and Kim, that was extremely hurtful, right?
Not always.
If you saw them on social media when he was on vacation with Kim and his kids together, that was a little heartbreaking, right?
It could be.
Okay, a little clip on the cross there. Holland, we know this is complicated. You've been on the show many times before when we've talked about domestic violence cases, and it's not so easy for someone to just depart a relationship. It's more layered than that. They just want the violence to stop. Here, I'm curious if you see grooming going on. When they met, he was 37, she was 19. And the music industry, Holland. Cassie had a lot of talent and a lot of potential. I'm curious if you see any of that being done by Diddy to get her in a position where he may have wanted to keep her.
Oh, absolutely. Cassie was not an artist to him. She was a slave. She was a tactic. She was a tool that he used to coerce other individuals. And that's literally what she was. And that is what this case is all about. She was not a human to him. She was a property. She was a piece of...
Let's see. Okay, so let's see.
Inner City Press in the Southern District of New York courthouse. We're halfway through day 6 of U.S. versus Sean Combs. On the stand in the morning, Don Richard of previously of Danity Kane and Diddy Dirty Money. She testified, as she had on Friday, about witnessing violence against Cassie Ventura, etc. Then on cross, they switched it up. They brought in their new lawyer from Georgia, the 9th member of the dream team for Sean Combs, Nicole Westmoreland, straight off the YSL trial down in Atlanta. And I have to say, she went hard at Dawn Richard. She questioned her about her 3500 material, interviews that she'd done with the government in which she hadn't said that she saw the alleged assault, that she hadn't various inconsistencies. I mean, it's very hard to tell the same story exactly the same way, but she really highlighted for the jury some inconsistencies in the various tales. But Dawn Richard, to her credit, said like things she remembered more the more she thought about it. There were also questions about her civil suit, and that she had a monetary message. Next witness, and still on the stand as when we go in after the break, Kerry Morgan, the best, quote-unquote, best friend of Cassie Ventura, although she hasn't spoken to her since 2018 when Sean Combs assaulted Kerry Morgan.
That's insane.
She ran through various violent incidents, including one in Jamaica in which she said Cassie Ventura had been dragged by the hair, and Kerry Morgan, and Sean Combs both got on golf carts and went in different directions looking for her. There's going to be some cross. I think it's going to be done by Agnifilo. We'll see how it goes. Some are saying that maybe Westmoreland should have done the cross of Cassie. This is it's not without just saying in terms of how it was done. It was done in quite an aggressive way, and we'll just have to see. Now, in last week, Inner City Press, we filed an application saying that there's far too much not going into the docket. Every morning, the lawyers argue and talk about what they put in overnight to the judge, and none of it's in the docket. So we filed it. Nothing was said until today. Judge Sermadian said, we have an application from the press that everything should be docketed, everything that you've done so far, redacted as necessary, and file it next Tuesday. What, in 8 days? And thereafter, once a week. I don't think that's how it's supposed to go. I guess the idea is that it's delayed so that they can redact things, but I haven't seen such a delay on docketing, so we'll just have to see. We might have to file again, but for now, we have to go back in. We've put up an ebook. It's on Google Play for reasons that I've explained elsewhere, and we're going to keep doing that every week. That'll be a kind of a fact check of people that claim that things were said, and sometimes even attributed to us falsely. In any event, we're not onwards and upwards. We're going back in for the afternoon session. Inner City Press, to be continued.
Onward and upwards. Let's see. Let's see. People go missing if they say things. That's just so scary. People go missing if they say things. All right. That's insane. I mean, it's like a movie, right? It's like a movie. So right now, everyone's on in this little break. Let's see what people are saying on X. Explode, for sure. It's not even like on the top. Bruh, what is wrong with people? Diddy trial updates. Let's see what this says. Let's see. Attorney Cargo's thoughts on Diddy trial, day 6 on Court TV.
Is this sex trafficking? Is this case? And Martinez in the East Bay. Alan, this is your life scenario for Sean Combs. A lot of defendants go through it. But is this sex trafficking? Is this human trafficking, which is the root of the charges against him by the federal government? It's obvious abuse and it's horrific behavior. Is the government proving their case?
You're right here. There's obvious abuse. There's a lot of absolutely terrible domestic violence, and it's clear that there's a bad temper. But at this point, I'm not fully convinced that sex trafficking has been established. There's a couple ways to essentially try to force people to do things. One is by force, but another one is essentially what's known as a bit of a psychological coercion. Basically, someone feels trapped. What I'm getting here is like there were aspects of force. I'm getting that the government may be trying to establish psychological coercion as well. As of this point, I'm not fully sure if the government has shown sex trafficking. Definitely domestic violence, but I'll have to listen for more.
And that's what the defense argues in this case, that yes, this was domestic violence, but this was not sex trafficking, Alan. Let's talk about Kerry Morgan on the stand. She's someone who separated herself from Cassie and from Sean Combs. Her being a former friend, someone who hasn't even spoken to Cassie Ventura in all of these years, how much does that help the credibility of her testimony in front of this jury?
That certainly helps her credibility. The fact that they are not, close friends, have talked recently, shows potentially a lack of bias. Oftentimes jurors will consider the testimony of someone who's a close friend or family member or someone that they've seen right recently as having, a bit of a desire to help the person. Here, the fact that they haven't really talked in 3 years helps her credibility.
Yeah, all right. Again, Kelly will be back next hour with her hourly updates. Alan, thank you. Stand by. We'll get a break. When we come back, it's off to Karen Reed. More of the...
Diddy sex trafficking trial. Witness dawn in church shocking testimony. That is funny. He's right there. There's that Don Richard pointing out Diddy. That's funny. I mean, it says this trial has only proved he's abusive, which we already know. But the, abuse is just one factor of what is needed to control someone. So abuse is just, yeah, he's an abuser amongst other things, and he used that abuse in the end to control and manipulate people. The forcing them, blackmailing, all that stuff, he used the abuse as a form of, well, if you don't, then you get this. So yeah, it's bigger than just abuse. It's more than just abuse. Abuse is just one factor. It's a tool that was used by Diddy to inherently gain what he wanted in the end. And he needed to gain that psychological control over them, and beating them showed power. Oh, did you guys see oh my gosh, all of those there's just so much crazy stuff, crazy rumors going around right now. Okay, so they're back from a brief lunch. Here we go. Okay, so the judge says, if I let this in, Miss Ventura could be recalled as a witness. I knew it. Okay, so an attorney from U.S. So maybe it's from the prosecution side, the U.S. attorney says, I doubt that we would call her. The judge says, the defense could call her back to the stand. Exactly. The U.S. attorney says, I doubt that she would be available. Judge, the evidence is out. It's out. I mean, if it was for the prosecution, I don't know. Okay, so the judge, I anticipate Mr. David James will be the next witness. How is he relevant? The U.S. attorney says, as to the means and methods of the enterprise, Mr. Combs threatening to assault employees. Yes, he did. The methods of the enterprise. Mr. Combs threatening to assault employees. So while waiting for the jury to come back in, here is a court. So, waiting for the jury to come back. Waiting for the jury. Oh, look at with the jury out for lunch, the arguments continue. Okay. What's your best citation to try to get this evidence in? Blah, 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 you know? 614F.3D30 after 9, you know, the number. Judge, I'll look at them and we'll come back. I haven't, and Combs says, I haven't seen this before. And the judge says, y'all need to go freaking eat because y'all asses are crazy. So go eat. Jury entering. No further questions, Miss Morgan. Okay, so the U.S. says no further questions for Miss Morgan. The judge says cross. Combs Agnifilo. Says Agnifilo, Combs' lawyer. You were Miss Ventura's best friend since 2004. Kerry Morgan. Actually, 2001. We met waiting for the Polaroids to develop. I was living in Buffalo. She was in Connecticut. And we wait. Stop messing up my hair. Yes. Okay, so we're waiting for Inner City Press to update. Well, let's see what the defense has up their sleeve. I don't think they have anything, honestly. Uh-oh, here we go, y'all. I'm clenching my pearls, child. Rico side, not sure why media aren't reporting this in one of the worst cases of domestic violence they have ever heard. And this is not the worst case of domestic violence they've ever heard. That's just not, that's not factual. Okay, let's see what they have over here. Cross-examination of Kerry Morgan starts right now. After a lunch break, and she is being cross-examined by Mark Agnifilo. Sean. Wait, Mark? I thought he wasn't on the defense. Wait, what? I thought he was just like sit in the back like. Mark Agnifilo. No, I'm thinking of the other guy. Never mind. Mark Agnifilo is the main guy. I'm tripping. Agnifilo is the one. Okay. She was in Connecticut. Okay, no further question this morning. We met while they were doing Polaroids. I was living in Buffalo and she was in Connecticut. We met waiting for the Polaroids to develop. I was living in Buffalo. She was in Connecticut. I just want these. Wish we could just have like Cameras in the courtroom. But it's okay, we can wait. Let's see. We just have to wait. We have to wait. What's going on? Who's in the courtroom reporting it? Live in court. Diddy updates. Hey, stop it. Back off. Let's see. Let's see. Judge break. What's your best citation? I haven't seen this before. You need to get something to eat. Break. Stop. Okay, here we go. Niffalo. Then you were both in New York City. Kerry Morgan said, okay, so she said that Kerry Morgan has said actually in 2001 they met. We met waiting for the Polaroid to develop. I was living in Buffalo. She was in Connecticut. Combs' attorney says, then you were both in New York City. Kelly Morgan says, I stayed downtown. She moved to Harlem. Agnifilo says, have you ever met Kim Porter? Morgan said, yes, probably at a concert. Agnifilo said, was Cassie ever jealous? And Morgan said, yes. As Cassie has already previously stated, she was very jealous. She was a very jealous person. She was young and jealous and probably acted out accordingly. This is Cassie's ex-best. This is Kerry Morgan. Look, these are just, they're little girls. They're little girls. They're babies still. My dog's snoring. I know, is there anyone Jay didn't put his hands on? Okay, lollipop. What you doing, pretty girl? What do you want, pretty girl? I'll go get you. You gotta go play with in your room with your toys. Okay, so let's go. Do you see him here? Yes, in the yellow sweater. Let the record reflect the witness had identified defendant Sean Combs. U.S. attorney said, let the record reflect the witness has identified defendant Sean Combs. The U.S. attorney says, why are you here? Kerry Morgan, I got a subpoena. The U.S. attorney, where did you live with Cassie? Manhattan. Yep, Cassie did admit to being jealous. Just crazy. He did. Yeah, the defense are just repeating the same things I asked Cassie. She already stated during her testimony that she was jealous when Diddy is with other women, including Kim. Let's see.
Flexibility is the embodiment of youthfulness. How old do you think I am? Would you guess that I'm 45?
Where he may have wanted to keep her.
Oh, absolutely. Cassie was not an artist to him. She was a slave. She was a tactic. She was a tool that he used to coerce other individuals. And that's literally what she was. And that is what this case is all about. She was not a human to him. She was a property. She was a piece of property. And that is what is being exposed.
I appreciate the analysis, Holland. I love how frank you are. Mario, let me ask you, you were practicing at that courthouse last week in Southern District in New York. You go there all the time. How long did it take you to get in the courthouse? What was it like compared to other days when you're there with your cases?
So it generally will take an attorney about 3 minutes to get through security and, up to the elevator in the courtroom. It took me over an hour to get to court, which I wasn't expecting. So of course I was delayed. But yeah, it's a circus. They always are. It's the Southern District. It's the rock and roll district. You get all the popular cases. It's in a great location in Lower Manhattan. So I'm right across the street from the state court, by the way.
Ah, okay, very good. Good to know. Good to have that insight. Well.
Okay. I think I'm done.